Microcasting for your city, Talkapolis. Welcome to Music Business Week. Our guest today is Mark Montgomery, a Nashville-based entrepreneur best known for his early use of business-to-consumer marketing and e-commerce channels in the entertainment industry. He is the founder of Echomusic and also Flo Thinkery.
Bandwidth for today's show is brought to you by SoftLayer.com. We love SoftLayer here at Talkapolis. They are the greatest hosting company ever. They make everything easy. Check out their website at SoftLayer.com. Thanks again for sponsoring the show. Today's show is brought to you by locally owned and operated Highland Rim Speedway. Highland Rim Speedway is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year with great short-track, door-to-door stock car racing in a safe, family-friendly atmosphere. Visit their website at highlandrim.com. From the family grocery hauler to fire-breathing racing engines, the one name you need to know is USA Motor and Machine, located at 51 Cleveland Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. Give them a call at 615-726-3725 or at usamotorandmachine.com.
You're watching Music Business Week. Our guest, Mark Montgomery. Howdy folks, I'm Greta Gaines. Welcome to Music Business Week right here at Talkapolis. Our guest is Mark Montgomery. Welcome to the show and thank you for being here. Take us to the beginning. You arrived in Nashville what year?
1990.
1990 as a professional guitar player.
Arguably.
Yeah.
When I got here, I figured out what a professional guitar player actually looked like. And I was not a professional guitar player.
Where did you come from?
Green Bay, Wisconsin, but in between hometown and here, pretty much did every job in the music business but work at a record company. So I toured as I'm an unabashed hair metal guy. I used to have a lot of hair and toured and, you know, that whole mess that was 80s metal.
Nice. Good old days.
Yeah, I miss Skid Row terribly. So I got here in 90 primarily because it was a little less scary than the two other big music centers. I mean,
That's exactly how I ended up in Nashville.
And so I got here and figured out after watching Brent Mason tear up the guitar that I would need another plan, and that's kind of where it all started.
Well, Plan B is working out for you really well.
So far.
All right, so technology. Were you always interested in computers? You told me that in 1996, you started marketing music on the internet. That had to be the first year that music was getting marketed on the internet.
I think that 95, 96 was when e-commerce, was really very early. It was fairly infant. We were probably first 5 to 10 companies in the U.S. to sell music directly to consumers on the web. And the discussions with the local banks went something like this. You want to sell what on the where? And so we actually, from a merchant perspective, had to go to California to get the ability to collect money online. But I was way into computers. My grandfather owned the first computer in Green Bay, and I was a hacker in high school. I was a software pirate.
Wow.
So yeah, I learned a lot about computers early, and I have this there's a theory about the brain of a musician and the brain of a coder are very similarly wired, and having managed teams of coders, I can tell you that they are very similar. I was in a session last night with a kid we're talking, and brainiac musician, and you can see the same abilities that it takes to write code and a musical brain are almost identical. Do you think it's about
bringing like unity to chaos?
Well, I think when you think about, music is actually very numeric in nature.
Right.
You're dividing and subdividing against a beat. So it is, in a lot of ways, ones and zeros. It's just a different version.
Right.
But they have a lot of the same characteristics.
So out of your own home, what were the first businesses that you launched? And what did that feel, and how old were you, and what was that like being in Nashville doing that?
Well, the first business I launched, actually, I started a lawn care business when I was 14.
Yeah, no, I mean in the tech world, yeah.
Well, yeah. So in the tech world, my first that was the first soiree into it was getting interested in computers in sort of the music frame, working on the precursor to Pro Tools, which was called Sound Designer. and as we all know, Pro Tools, you want to talk about upending an entire sort of infrastructure, those guys were incredibly disruptive at the time. And then in 1994, I started building publicly facing websites, just taught myself how to do it. And then,
like, I could have hired you as for my artist page
Yeah.
or my business page, so
Yep.
you were building those, okay.
Yeah, and that was in the days of 26K modems,
Yeah.
which is, you
I
know,
wish that meant more to me, but I'm sure.
really fucking slow.
Really slow, okay, all right.
And in '96, you know, it was still regarded as dangerous to give your credit card out on the internet. I mean,
Yeah.
people were freaked out about it. And so all of that early work really led to a place in time. So in at the time we launched that e-com platform, I was actually co-owner of a recording studio complex. And we had Mitsu X850s, and we had $1 million worth of gear and this giant room and all this overhead. And
Analog board and all that.
Yeah, and the whole thing, and Studer 24s, and sound designer turned into Pro Tools in about 1996, and about mid to late 97 started really showing up, and sort of the old community went, it's a fad. I mean, I heard that today in a meeting. Someone was talking about how the internet was a fad.
Like
and I was
laser discs?
Yeah, I mean, just the
Like
whole
mono skiing?
Yeah, or yeah. Anyway, we could date ourselves in a lot of ways. But this idea that this little box could literally upend all of this infrastructure, and so my partners in that business and I just could not agree.
Yeah.
You know, they were of the mind that 5.1 audio was going to save the studio business, and I was like, people don't care about that. People care about convenience and portability. The music is not about. It is about experiencing it in a nice listening environment, but music is about the connection from the ear to the heart.
Yeah.
And so audiophiles tend to get caught up in audio world when the reality is what consumers want is convenience. And so we argued about that for about a year, and finally I said, I'm leaving. And myself and my co-founder in Echo literally moved to Music Row and started that company and built it really from 3 employees to almost 100, with offices in London, New York, Nashville, and Los Angeles. And we had a nice run, and somebody found it very interesting at the end and wrote us a nice check, and that was kind of it. But inside that company, we really, there were 4 or 5 sort of discrete areas. And one big underpinning of all of it was technology. So we built a platform that managed consumers. And so kind of at our peak, when I left, we were serving 150 million pages every 30 days, about 4.5 terabytes of data going in and out of the platform, and millions of dollars of commerce being transacted. And I could go into a database for Rascal Flatts, which I think at the time had about 2 million consumers in their database, and say, show me all the females that are over 21 that have a better than 50% response rate to email that live in this zip code that have bought these products, pull them out, and now talk to their email client or to their phone. And oh, by the way, because females between 26 and 34 are online between 8:30 and 11 p.m., deliver that segment at that time.
Wow.
Which allowed us to get
analytics. It's like early analytics.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
allowed us to get 70% open rates on email.
Wow.
And so and what's interesting about that concept, which is really the direct to fan concept, in looking at that today, there's still a pretty interesting hole in the market, because everybody tries to. There is no real end-to-end solution that allows you to really understand from a business intelligence perspective who your customer is, right, and how to get at them. Right. And so I basically got an MBA in starting a company, bootstrapping it, bank financing it, venture financing it, exiting it, trying to become a responsible, good corporate citizen, which I failed miserably at. And
why?
Because I talk back, because I have opinions, because I don't really think I should be working for people who don't understand what I do. And frankly, corporations are just too big and move too damn slow.
It is.
And
it's
so for me, it's
yeah.
like, I mean, shoot me in the head. Please get me out of here.
Middle management's not for you.
No. Even upper middle management. I mean, I reported directly to the CEO.
But there's a lot of sitting. That when I got my first job at Oxygen up in New York, I never realized it took that many people to do so little. So, but they have to justify a lot of times sitting there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you have to kind of cut through them. So
Yeah.
so you finished Echo off, and then you said to yourself, I never want to do the same thing ever again. I want to do a lot of things. Did that lead directly into Find Your Flow?
Well, no. I mean, what I did is after I left, I had a couple little adventures which are not really all that important, other than to say that when you develop a reputation for returning to investors, investors would like you to go again. And so I dabbled with several offers to run companies. I had a couple of ideas that I thought were interesting, but the more time I spent away from doing one thing and started doing a bunch of things sort of simultaneously, the more convinced I became that I didn't really want to do one thing again. One thing would have been easier. It would have been easier for me to say, all right, here's my idea on a napkin, and I could have got a $3 million check at a $9 million valuation because I've got a track record.
Right.
I'm a hit songwriter, so to speak. And so, in my mind, with that in mind and that opportunity put in front of me, I don't know that I should have taken it. On
really?
A number of occasions.
Just for the health insurance, or just
no. Just because it was a quick path, and that's me. It's a quick path to another lick.
Right.
Right. But money is not that. Money at some point becomes less important than doing meaningful work. And so for me, it was about putting together it was about doing something that I hadn't done. I've already built a company and sold it. Right. Okay, can we do something else?
Right, so what is Find Your Flow?
Well, so Flo, actually, the company is Flo Thinkery. Okay. It's a think tank, effectively, and what we sell is brain power.
How do you vet who gets to be a part of your tank?
They have to be absolute badasses.
You find them yourself?
Yeah, I mean, what...
And your team of genius monkeys?
Yeah, so what we do is, or how it started was, and is, I would not recommend this as a way to start a company. If somebody came in and told me, this is what I'm proposing this is what I'm proposing to do, I'd say that's a really stupid idea. Because it's just too abstract. But the concept was, we wanted to do smart things with cool people, or cool things with smart people. And the basic premise was, you're in flow if you say you are. So it was about getting people together and working around a set of ideas. And the small group that sort of stuck together became the core, which is 5. There are 5 of us that are sort of at the core. And then we have a cadre of what I call evil monkeys, which is a mix of full-time heads and interns. Okay. And we work on a variety of projects at any given time. But we do that work for decision makers only. So I don't deal with middle managers. If I'm not dealing with the CEO, we don't even have a conversation.
What about directly with venture capitalist money?
Oh, we work with venture guys don't like to admit that they make mistakes, but they do. And so in a lot of cases, we're search and rescue. So we get hired to go in and look at a bad investment, which I have some experience in managing rescue operations. I did that
taking and turning it around and salvaging it if possible?
Or shooting it in the head.
Or being the ones who actually pull the plug.
Yeah, saying this dog ain't gonna hunt.
All right.
It's time to put it to sleep. And when you look at an investment where you've got $2, $3, $4 million in a deal to return $35,000 worth of revenue over a 3-year period. Yeah. It would seem that it wouldn't take me to come in and say this is broken and you probably ought to kill it.
I will come in and be that guy.
And then in a lot of those cases, there's intellectual property that's got value. So you can take a failing business and strip out a piece of it and reconstitute it. Right. In some cases. Right. Not always, but in some cases.
But I would be willing to pay you to be that guy. If there was something there salvageable and you were going to identify, it would make sense to me to at least,
Yeah.
give it one more shot.
And then, you know, we get hired by, you know, we work with Google on a number of sort of different levels right now. And, you know, generally as a rule, our first year was we don't disclose who we work with. And so we've held fast to that. We've worked on probably 20 projects.
For you or for them? Do you not disclose?
We don't disclose who our clients are. So if they want to talk about us, that's fine with us. But
okay.
We purposefully didn't, which drives people nuts. Well, what are you doing exactly? I'm not at liberty to tell you. And so the only one that's really been public is Google, because we put together something for them and brought it to the community, which was something that I think was very needed here. We talked about it, sold out in 4 minutes.
What was that? Tell us.
It was called Google for Entrepreneurs, and it was basically Google has an incredibly robust ecosystem around everything from search to ads to platform. I mean, do you know anybody who's on? I mean, I know a couple people on AOL. But I mean, Gmail.
I am on AOL.
Yes,
You're from '97. Yeah. You're not shocked by that, are you?
No, well, it's time to graduate. But Gmail. So what we did is we basically looked at how there's a whole suite of applications for business. There's a whole suite of applications for creatives. There's a whole suite of applications, and we just said, let's put something together. Let's show people what this can mean to them. Right. And what we got back from the community was, holy crap, you know, I actually learned something here. This was not a 101. So we really we challenged Google to bring their best people, and they did, to their credit. And quite frankly, I think they have a real interest in this market. I think they recognize that there's a lot going on here.
Jeff Meeks and Chris Austin invite you to watch your favorite sports event at the Batter's Box at 43 Hermitage Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. The Batter's Box offers shuttle service to all Titans home games. It's a great place for friends to gather for the game and after the game. So check out the Batter's Box Bar and Grill, and thanks again for sponsoring the show.
Technologically for Nashville, it's getting a little bit more well-known as a place where that's even happening. Since you do think that there's maybe a similarity between young musicians' minds and some technology-oriented people, what advice can you give to people looking for a plan B, just like you established for yourself, to get into this market here in Nashville?
Well, I mean, I think the market, you mean, in terms of getting into the market, it's pretty simple, move here. You know,
if you're already here, I mean, getting into technology.
Oh, well, so getting into technology is as simple as deciding, well, I'll give you an example. Okay, there are 1,300 unfilled tech jobs today in this market.
Did you hear that, everybody?
So
he said job, J-O-B, 1,300.
And
paid.
Right, paid.
No kidding.
And that number is only going to grow.
Right.
So if you're, and coding is not, it's not what it was in a lot of ways. And so I think, you know, one of the things that I always, like I have musicians that come in and see me and they're thinking about it, and I'm like, you ought to look at code as another thing, as a thing that creates this idea that people can do one thing anymore is a bit of a, it just doesn't happen. You know, if you're a photographer, you also need to be able to shoot video. If you're, I mean, you can literally build a website today in 10 minutes. It's called Tumblr, or it's called WordPress, or it's called any variety of other options. So the enabling of technology allows for you to do all kinds of things that you couldn't do historically. And yet there are simple facts that remain, right? In other words, to me, people get so distracted by technology and so the bright shiny ball of fill in the blank. If the art ain't right, it doesn't matter how good the technology is, right? The only way that this thing that you guys are doing here works is if the content's compelling.
That's right.
Right? And so we, as a technology guy, I'm not all that enamored with the technology. I'm enamored with what the technology provides in terms of access to markets and the ability to bring a narrative. You know, people buy into stories and they buy into people. The technology is just the enabler for that.
That's right. So Nashville, tell us what do you think maybe the next 5 years is going to look like for you? And this town, what are some of the things that are in motion right now and things that you'd like to see happen?
Well, I'd like our incredibly idiotic legislators to stop bombing us back to the intellectual Stone Age all the time. That would be helpful.
And how do they do that?
Well, they pass incredibly dumb resolutions that make us look like hillbillies.
To the rest of the world.
Yeah, so I'd appreciate them stopping that.
Because it'll make it more appealing for all those smart people out there who might want to come here.
You're sitting in San Francisco and you're looking at this market and you see a piece of legislation that's, I mean, who you know, whatever it is.
Guns and bars?
Guns and bars, Jesus is Lord, all that, you know, all that crazy ass.
Is that a piece of legislation?
Well, there are legislative components of.
No, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that we do I think that that's a big checkbox I'd like to get done. I think we do a really bad job of telling our story. The market doesn't recognize, and I think we're getting a lot better at it. So, you know, 5 years ago, we couldn't get arrested. We couldn't get on a list of places to be. We're a #3 boomtown. We've made a bunch of lists of great place to come and start a company. You know, we've got a great food scene here. We don't talk about the thriving gay community. We don't talk about the underbelly. The city is too shiny. It's got too much of a sheen of the polished country music. The biggest rock band in the world lives here, Kings of Leon. People don't talk about that. Yep. Because we don't want to upset the apple cart. Right. And the only way that we're going to, I think, really advance the cause is by telling a balanced story that says, if Jesus is Lord and that works for you, that's great. But we also have a gay community here, and that's perfectly fine too. And you need that a level of diversity that allows people that are looking for diversity to look in the market and go, I could go to Nashville because it's got a better well, education's a whole other conversation. It's got a great quality of life. It's got boom, 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 boom. It's within 60% of, it's a one-day's drive of 60% of the U.S. population from here. All the infrastructure you need particularly to be in the entertainment business is here. And so I think we could do a lot better in telling that story, and then I think we have to recognize that if we want to play big boy ball, well, then we got to invest like big boys.
Yeah.
And so I think we have some of that beginning to happen, but it's very early. We need a couple more big wins out of this market. We need Muntos to get sold. Yeah. We need another Studio Now. We need another Echo. We need another Rivals.com. We need those kinds of things to continue to drive people looking at the market and going, yes, I want to be part of that. Yeah. There's my damn phone again.
Mark is so popular. We're keeping him so long here that his phone is blowing up.
I apologize.
You're just going to have to get
I should have just turned the damn thing off.
What do you look for? Say that people bring you these big, I'm sure people bring you companies at all stages. They bring you ideas, they bring you things that have been around for a year. What catches your attention?
The jockey.
Yeah.
I always bet on it's always about the guy or girl.
Really?
Ideas second.
Yeah.
You can smell people who can't be stopped.
Yeah.
They have a certain set of characteristics. They are, and then you have to temper that with, can they be coached? Because sometimes people who can't be stopped are so blind that they drive off the cliff. I was that guy.
Yeah.
I was not particularly coachable, and it took me a while to get there. I was fortunate because I really never had, until right at the end, anybody from the venture community sort of, you know, breathing down my neck going, well, you know, as soon as you take capital, you create pressure. And so there's a certain mix of stubbornness and focus and vision combined with the ability to be able to say to that person, you might want to think about maybe not doing that, and here's why.
Yeah.
And I think then you assume that the idea is close. You know, the reality of it is that when you think about, you know, 80% of running any company, doesn't matter what company it is the same. I don't care if you're selling carrots to horses or if you're selling technology to, it doesn't matter. It's the same set of challenges that you face day in and day out on any company. And the last 20% of it is institutional knowledge about the business you're in. And if you don't have a management team that's got the institutional knowledge, then you shouldn't be in business with them. So if you make that assumption, it makes it easy to say, like in our case, we're in a couple of deals right now that I have literally no experience in, but I've run companies, right? And I have managed people, and I have built sales organizations, and I have understood market, and I have built product.
Yeah.
Those things are all all of that is never going to change.
Yeah.
It's just about that last 20%. So to me, it's always the jockey, and the team around the jockey, and then the horse is second.
Wow, a lot of amazing advice here from Mark Montgomery. So we can check out your website at Find Your Flow, but you might not have your clients listed up there,
we
right?
don't, but you can read some of our. We have a very entertaining website. In fact, and I know we're not supposed to swear a ton, but I had probably the single biggest compliment, and this is my partner Kid Red, who is responsible for this. But we had somebody call us up and say, "I want to fuck your website. It's so hot."
You should put that on your website.
Well,
that testimonial on Find Your Flow.
We probably will on the next version.
Wow, I have never heard that said about a website. I'm going there right now. I'm going to have to end this interview early because I've got to go on the computer and see what all that is about.
It's a fascinating read. It's very funny.
Well, you're fascinating. This is a
thank
fascinating idea. I've never even heard of such a thing. Sometimes you feel smart. There are days when you feel smart, and there's days when you feel really dumb. I feel really dumb because I don't even understand half of what you're doing, but I know that you're looking for the talent. Mm-hmm. And through all of your experience, through music and now through running business, you're trying to help people pull their acts together and be successful, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're doing healthcare, we're doing consumer products, we're dabbling in a bunch of stuff, and the bottom line is, and this goes to something you said, if you're truly going to be successful, you should always have the goal of being the dumbest guy in the room. Mm-hmm. If you are secure enough in your own abilities to recognize that your job, and this is what I've I only learned this recently, the smarter the people around me, the better I do. And so if I continue to sort of, you asked what qualifies you for being in flow, you have to be smarter than me. Yeah. And the bar's pretty low, right? But it's not super low, but it's not super high. But I think that that is a big piece of the puzzle, is recognizing that I'm a student. I will be learning till the day I'm dead. And whether I'm throwing myself, on the songwriting side, part of the reason I have some level of credibility, I'm still actively trying that process. I had a guy out at my house last week who's played with Stevie Wonder. What business do I have sitting in a room with him, much less having a guitar in my hand at the same time? Yeah. But I keep throwing myself off the cliff and keep trying to be the dumbest guy in the room. Yeah. And that's where success comes from.
Wow, that's awesome. Mark Montgomery, thank you so much for being here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Watching Music Business Week. Check out his website and keep it locked right here at Talkapolis. I'm Greta Gaines, and thanks for watching. Microcasting for your city, Talkapolis.